How's it going, everybody? My name is Stryder, and welcome to Reddit Stories with Stryder. Today we are going to be doing Today I Messed Up. It's actually a different word, but we're going to say messed up for YouTube's sake. Anyways, these are stories of people making mistakes that lead to kind of like a series of unfortunate events situation. And with today's episode and going forward, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the full story, the updates, edits, and everything all at once, and then give you guys my opinion instead of giving you guys my opinion, reading the updates and edits, and then giving you more opinion, because sometimes I just end up saying the same thing twice. So I want to cut down on that a little bit and just give you guys the story, my opinion, move on to the next one, so I don't have you guys here listening to me ramble. Right? So anyways, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, the like button, the share button if you know other people who like to listen to Reddit stories, do all the interaction, comment down below any other Reddit areas that you would like me to cover stories from. I'm trying to find out what I want to do, how many different subreddits I want to go into and stuff like that, and your guys' comments will always help with that. So anyways, story number 1. Today I messed up by not tipping the cashier. This happened a few days ago, but I can't stop thinking about it. I also write how I think, so bear with me if there are any grammar errors. This story takes place in America. My brother-in-law showed my family a mom-and-pop buffalo wing place roughly 15 years ago when he was dating my sister. It was 1 year his hometown, and he had been going there since it opened when he was a teen. My family loved the place, and it became a new family favorite. After graduating, I moved in a neighboring town for work and would go occasionally to the restaurant, maybe just a few times a year. Right before COVID, my brother went on a study abroad, but when COVID hit, he was quickly rushed back to America. He moved into the town with the restaurant. Once the COVID restrictions lifted and we were able to go out to eat, we decided to go to the restaurant once a week. We love the food a lot, and it allows us to catch up and spend some time, quality time together. It says spend some time and then also says quality time together. We would invite our friends and family to occasionally join us for those weekly outings, but the two of us have been going there every week for nearly 4 years. The way this restaurant works is as follows. You first order and pay at the counter and then find yourself a seat in the sitting area. Once your food is ready, they call your number and you pick up your order. When you are done eating, you must clear your own area and toss your trash. It's like a fast food restaurant in that way, but nicer. There are no waiters. This will be an important detail later. The restaurant has a nice lunch special, which includes wings, fries, and a drink, all for a very reasonable price. They also give you a small side cup of ketchup, ranch, blue cheese, or their buffalo sauce. On Mondays and Tuesdays, they run this special all day, and it's on those days in the evening that my brother and I go. 8-ish months ago, they hired a new guy who worked as the cashier. For purposes of this story, let's call him Jay. Jay is in his early 20s and is studying something along the lines of criminal justice at the local college. Jay was friendly, and we always made small talk during the ordering process. Since we went weekly and ordered the same thing every time, he started to memorize our orders. Now, this wasn't unique. My brother and I have practically ordered the same thing from this restaurant for 15 years. And some of the past cashiers have memorized our order, or at least part of our orders. Jay had our orders only partially memorized at this currently, but he mixed up some parts of our orders. No problem, it's easy to correct, and there was never an issue. 3 months ago, my brother broke his arm. It was a complete fracture of his radial bone. He ended up needing surgery and a metal plate and screw implanted to repair the bone. Due to this, he couldn't use his arm for anything. We decided to take 2-ish month breaks since it's hard to eat buffalo wings with only one hand, and there is no way he orders boneless wings and uses a fork instead. No shame to the boneless wing eaters. It's very convenient to eat them that way, but that's not how we roll here. Once the doctor cleared him to lift 5 pounds, we would go back. 4 weeks ago, the doctor cleared my brother and we started going back. Jay was excited to see us, and we were glad to be back. We ordered and sat down. Jay came up to us with our food a few minutes later and asked where we had been. We explained what had happened, and my brother showed him the surgical scar. Jay then started talking about how he gets how my brother feels and says that he broke his knee last year. He goes on to tell a story about how there was a gang incident and a gang killed his cousin and broke his knee. He didn't say which gang, and we didn't ask. The way that Jay was explaining the story, it sounds like he is doing a bit. He was deadpan in a way that it makes my brother and I think he was joking. It felt like he was telling one of those really long stories that end in a pun, but there was no pun at the end. His cadence and inflections made it seem unserious. We both tried to remain serious, and we gave each other a side eye and kind of giggled for a second. We apologized and said that we are sorry for laughing and sorry for his loss. He then went on to explain some wrist-based stretches my brother could do to help heal his hand. My brother thanked him and told Jay that the doctor gave him a list of stretches like the ones that Jay gave. After we left the restaurant, we talked about how weird that was. 3 weeks ago, when we went in, Jay asked my brother if he had any ways to improve the restaurant. My brother jokingly said, if the restaurant wants to hire me on as a consultant, I will happily give some ideas, but I don't give ideas for free. Now, my brother is a smart man, but a bit of a smartass. I don't know why Jay asked my brother. He's not an entrepreneur or a businessman. He's also going to the local college study to be an accountant. It was weird that he only asked my brother, not me. But I also thought it was interesting because, as far as I know, he is just an employee and doesn't have a stake in the restaurant. This guy's grammar is a little bad. 2 weeks ago, my brother couldn't make it to the weekly dinner. I was already spending the afternoon with my sister and her family, so we decided to go together instead of me going with my sister. We go up, order, and sit down like usual. When we got our food, I noticed I got a side of buffalo sauce instead of ketchup. I always get a side of ketchup for my fries, and my brother gets the additional buffalo sauce because he likes to dip his fries in that. I figured it was Jay mixing up our orders again. If this was to happen when my brother and I were together, we could easily switch the condiments. Since he wasn't here this time, I went up to Jay, told him the situation, asked him if I could get ketchup. He tells me, "Oh, I gave someone at your table a thing of ketchup. Just take it from them." Then he walked into the kitchen in the back. I was kind of shocked, but returned without my ketchup. I just used the buffalo sauce, and I ended up taking some of my sister's ketchup once she was done using it. This week, me and my brother went again. We ended up going an hour before they closed due to my brother having to stay late at work. The restaurant was empty. We get to the counter, and before we can place our orders, Jay asks, "Do you guys know of any side hustles to make some extra cash?" My brother jokingly says, "Have you thought about doing gift card scams on grandmas?" Not meant to taken seriously, not a great joke, but a joke nonetheless. Jay instantly sobers up and says, "My grandma died this morning. I got the call at 4 a.m. My brother and I were shocked. We apologized and said it was meant as a joke and that it wasn't even a good joke. I was surprised that he still came into work. As I was paying, I hit no tip, and Jay said under his breath, "Money is tight right now. If you could tip, it would be nice." Sadly, he said this seconds after hitting no tip, and I couldn't go back. I didn't say anything and went to sit down as my brother ordered and paid for himself. He also hit no tip. Jay came out 10 minutes later with our food. Instead of handing us our food, he placed the food down at a neighboring table, sits down with us, and says, "We need to talk about the no-tip situation." He went on to say that we are regulars, but he notices that we never tip. My brother and I go on to give our reasons. We aren't being waited on. Tipping culture has gotten out of hand, and it's annoying to be asked to tip at places where it isn't needed. We pay before we eat the food. Jay counters by saying things like, "I've memorized your orders. I try to make this as enjoyable experience for you guys. You can give a tip based on your experience from last time." For like 5 minutes, we are talking in circles. We give our reasons and Jay gives his points. Jay also starts escalating the situation. He also brings up that we made fun of his grandma dying. We again apologized and said that we weren't making fun of his grandma. It was just an ill-timed joke. I asked him why he didn't take the day off. Jay goes on to say that money is tight and that he needs the money. He says that he makes $16 an hour plus tips. My brother says that's how much he makes working at a phone store. We say that they should raise the prices if they need more money. We shouldn't have to tip at what is basically an upscale fast food restaurant. Up to this point, we had been talking calmly, but no side is giving way to the other. Then the cook from the back comes out and says, "Jay, it's not that big of a deal. Just give them their food." Jay says, "I will once we're done here." At this point, my brother is pissed and is tired of this. My brother doesn't mind escalating situations and digs his heels when confronted. I am much more of a people pleaser and always try to de-escalate situations. So my brother starts raising his voice at Jay, saying, "You should listen to your coworker. We for sure aren't going to tip you after this." The coworker comes back out a minute later, takes the food from Jay and gives it to us. We appreciate it, but now we are arguing with Jay while eating buffalo wings. The conversation ends shortly after that with Jay saying, if you aren't going to tip, you should get your food to go since you don't appreciate this place. My brother responds by saying, we will get it to go next time so we don't have to see you. Jay gets up and walks away. He comes back with to-go boxes and says, here are your boxes if you want to leave so bad. We said, no, we paid to eat this here. We are going to eat it here. Next time, we will get it to go. Jay leaves the boxes and walks away. My brother and I just stare at each other and eat our food in silence. Mind you, we were the only people in the restaurant when this happened. We went an hour before closing and no one else had come in after us. Because of this, Jay is walking around the seating area doing the end-of-day cleaning. The cook did come back out to check on us and make sure we were okay. He also apologized for what happened. Our answers were short, but mostly because Jay was within earshot. When we were done, Jay was sweeping in front of the entrance, so we had to walk past him to leave. We tossed our food in the trash can, and I said, without making eye contact, sorry about your grandmother again. He responded by saying, yeah, you probably won't see me again here. My brother responded with, good, and we walked out. We believe Jay will get fired, but we're going to take a week off just to be safe. The issue is that we always go to the same time, go at the same time and day. So if Jay is angry, he knows exactly when we will be there if he wants to confront us in the parking lot. I know Jay was mostly angry about his grandma, and I'm sure things would have gone very differently if that joke hadn't been made. On the other hand, if he wanted to ask why we don't tip, I think there was a reasonable way to bring it up and ask us, but to also accept our answer if we don't want to tip. We are both pro-tip in cases of fancier sit-down restaurants and places where you are being waited on and served. There's just a time and place for tipping, and we don't believe it was this situation. Edit. I realize I typed a lot, but I figure that the more details, the better. I also wanted to make sure I didn't seem like a jerk for not tipping at a restaurant. My brother's girlfriend suggested saying that the restaurant's format is akin to Chick-fil-A, if that helps imagining the way it works. My brother and I went back and Jay was still working the cashier. We were surprised, but honestly I don't mind that he's still there. He messed up, but that doesn't make him a bad person. I only talked to Jay a little bit. He didn't apologize, but he said he's doing a lot better. So I hope that's true and that he's doing better. Hopefully our interactions from here are better. I did mess up for real this time. I told myself all day today that I would not tip when I went back. I had to stand my ground, but I caved when I saw Jay. I got scared and panicked, so when I was offered to tip, I clicked custom. Now the meal usually costs $15. I went in thinking I'll tip him $1.50. That's 10%. But when I went to type the custom tip, instead of hitting $1.50, I hit 15 cents. So I only tipped 15 cents. Jay didn't notice, or at least he didn't say anything. Otherwise, everything was back to normal. Okay, so I will say this. What's the right way to put it? I'm not anti-tip, but I don't believe in the tipping system. The tipping system is a system created by business owners of restaurants and stuff as a way to push the costs of employees onto the customer while also pushing the cost of running the business onto the customer, which obviously, yes, if you're going to a restaurant, if you're going to anywhere that gives you a service or a product, you have to pay for it. And obviously the cost of that product or service is going to include, the cost of running the business, paying for all the employees and all that good stuff. I don't believe in the system of tipping because I think it's a way of like doubling down on the burden of a customer. Because if you were to pay the employee a normal wage of like 15 to 16 or more dollars an hour, it would actually come out, if they did it without trying to force extra profit off of everything else and they were just going for their same profit margins that they already do, if they did that, then the cost on the customer would be less than what is the tipping expectation, right? It does not cost, if your meal's $20, then, the average tip is supposed to be like 20% at this point. So $4. It doesn't cost an extra $4 per meal to pay for that one extra waiter. If your business is doing well, because you do the math of like, if that one waiter can serve 10 people in an hour, then that means their tips are $40, which means you are not paying your waiter $40 an hour to serve food to people. If you paid them 15 to 20, they would make enough, to make a living. But then also you wouldn't have to worry about your waiter being stiffed continuously on tips, because there are people out there that don't believe in tipping, period. I am a generous tipper when I do go out to restaurants and I have to tip, or, tipping is, part of the process because they don't get paid enough, because I'm not a non-tipper, because I don't feel it's right for me to push that extra burden onto the waiter or cashier or whoever, because it's not their fault that they are getting paid so little and expected to collect tips. That's on the business owner. Now, if I do know that the business does a situation where the tip is split between the waiters and like the management staff or something like that, then I get, or worth the business itself, then I do get upset and I end up not going to those places ever. I only will go to restaurants where I know that my tip is going directly to that server and only that server, or maybe obviously the kitchen too. If it's like split between the kitchen and the server, I'm cool with that. But if I know that the business itself is getting a portion of the tip, then I'm good. No, I'm good. Don't need that. You do not get more of my money. If you want more of my money, make the price of the meal cover everything. Don't try and find a new way of getting basically pure profit off of me. I'm already there to buy something from you. Don't make, that just makes the interaction a lot worse, right? Now, in the part of Jay, I can understand where he was coming from. Obviously, regulars are going to be where you're going to make the most tips from, because they are a reliable source of tipping if they're coming in constantly. But also, OP does have a point. If you are going to a restaurant where you are putting in your own order, you put in an order, you pay, you sit down, you clean up after yourself. Like, you go and get your food, you bring your food to your table, all that good stuff. Like, if there is no actual waiter involved, then tipping should not be a thing. And like Jay said, he was making $16 an hour already. So he's already making the amount of money that he should be making in that. Well, not the amount of money that he should be making. There's a whole other political thing about how much money people should be getting paid and whatnot. That's besides the point. He's not getting paid a server's wage, which means tipping isn't really a necessity, right? It's not something that's even should be an expectation. He is getting paid the amount that you would get paid to go work at Walmart or something like that. So he's getting paid a normal wage, not a server's wage. So tipping shouldn't be expected anyways. If his grandmother did actually die that day, I understand why he would be like that, because he's already on edge. And then this is something else that's probably been eating at him, because for some reason he does have that expectation that he should be getting tips for some reason, even though all he's doing is, anyways, that's besides the point. I understand maybe where he's coming from, but confronting somebody like that is, doing something like that is a surefire way to make sure that no one is going to tip you. Having like a regular conversation, or being like, hey, is there a reason why you guys don't tip? Well, even then, you're an employee. You should not be having financial conversations with the customers about the business, essentially. So that wasn't okay. Jay needs to cool his jets. But I understand at the same time, money is money, and if you see a way to potentially create a new source of income, you got to shoot your shot, I guess, but do it in a better manner. Arguing with somebody and telling them that they should be tipping when they're not tipping is a surefire way to guarantee that they will not tip, because it's not like you can stop them from coming in. They're still going to come in. They're still going to get their food. They're still not going to tip. And now they're going to not like you at the same time. So your chances of ever getting tipped is gone, and, is done and dusted. So, congratulations to Jay on that one. But OP is, I guess he messed up by not tipping, but really they don't expect it to tip. So I don't think he actually messed up here. I know there's no advice to give. There's no decision to make on whether or not he's like an a-hole or not. But overall, I don't think he did anything wrong. I think Jay needs to just calm down. So, on to story 2. Story number 2. Today I messed up by eating a homemade family-sized lasagna for every meal for over 2 days. I've made a terrible mistake and learned a valuable lesson. Allow me to walk you through the last 3 days of hell. My housemate went on holiday Tuesday morning, leaving me alone for the week. I don't often get time alone, so I plan my time around working a little each day, then playing games for the rest of the time. About 12 p.m. in several joints, I was getting hungry and had an amazing idea. I was going to make a massive homemade lasagna and eat it over the course of the week. At this point, I had no idea what it would do to my body, and if future me could talk to the me from Tuesday, I would have warned him. Day 1, Tuesday morning. So get all this stuff and spend an hour or so making a massive 7-layer lasagna with nearly a whole block of cheese, several tins of tomatoes, and a layer of applesauce in the middle to give it a sweet tang. It was enough to feed 10 people easily. It smelt so good. Tuesday lunchtime, portion number 1. I fried some chips, fries, chips/fries, depending on who you are, and garlic bread and sat down to eat. It was amazing. I was so thrilled. It turned out great. Tuesday evening, portion 2. Still just as delicious, even better maybe after letting it sit for a few hours. Nothing brewing in my body yet. It was the calm before the storm. Tuesday midnight, portion 3. I believe this was my first mistake. I had been smoking a few joints and watching AVGN on YouTube, and all of a sudden I remembered that I made a massive lasagna. I tried to resist, but my stoner brain only lasted about 5 minutes before I had more and cooked some midnight garlic bread to go with it. It still tasted good. After eating, I noticed I was starting to get acid reflux. I took a lansoprazole and tried to sleep. Wednesday morning, portion 4. I woke up and my stomach was grumbling, so I went and plated up another helping of lasagna. It tasted okay, not as delicious as my previous 3 helpings, but I put that down to it being early and I had just woken up. It's at this point my stomach acid kicked up again and I needed a poo really bad. I ran to the toilet and had the runniest poo I'd had in a long time. It was almost painful. Now, at this point, you would normally go, maybe I should lay off the lasagna for a bit, but it never occurred to me at the time that 4 meals of lasagna could produce such bad bowels. Oh, it never occurred to me at the time that 4 meals of lasagna could produce such bad bowels. I felt better after, so quickly forgot about it. Wednesday, lunchtime, portion 5. I know it might seem crazy, but about 2 p.m. I was hungry. I had work to get on with, but didn't have the time to. Oh, okay, he put and in between but and didn't, so it was with but and didn't. I had work to get on with and didn't have the time to cook. Didn't have the time to cook anything and nothing to grab quickly except lasagna. So back I went. At this point, half the lasagna is gone and half remains. This time the lasagna didn't taste that great, but I ate it because I needed to have something to give me some energy. I realized at the point that my stomach felt weird, like painful and uncomfortable. I made myself some coffee and expected a poo, but nothing came. Just a horrible feeling something wasn't right. Wednesday evening, portion 6, the final portion. After finishing work, I looked at the remaining lasagna. I thought, maybe it's because I've had no salad or vegetables with it. That will make it taste better and give me something to sort my stomach out. So I made some salad, more garlic bread, and the final portion. I knew immediately after eating it I had made a terrible mistake. My bowels started aching and making noises. I ran to the toilet, and as my arse hit the seat, a volcano of red-hot poo erupted from my anus. It was so painful, my arse was on fire. Some of the poo came out so violently that it somehow shot upwards, pebble dashing to toilet lid behind me. I don't even know how that's possible. Maybe poo collided with other bits of poo in motion and exploded. Either way, it was the worst toilet experience of my life. Then came the smell. It was delayed almost. Like I was in so much pain, the universe said, let's give him a minute before we hit him with the smell. It was like acid. This putrid gas almost instantly made me feel sick. I wanted to run out of the toilet and seek fresh air, but the poo was still exploding out of me. I had no choice but to hold my nose and breathe through my mouth, which was horrible. All I thought was, I'm getting this acidic poo smell in my mouth. After what seemed like 5 minutes of lava bursting out of me, it stopped. But at what cost? My bum was still on fire. It's like someone was holding a lighter to my butt. The smell was so bad, I had to wipe quickly and escape this hell I had created. But my butt hurt so much, every wipe was like dragging sandpaper over it. I winced with every wipe and was almost in tears, and it was so messy it took a lot of wiping. I stumbled off of the toilet like a cowboy who'd been on his horse for days. I couldn't sit down. All I could do was lie on my side in bed and try to get to sleep. Thursday morning. I woke up and I could instantly feel my butt burning. Before I'd even registered I was awake. What's worse is that I needed another poo. I was terrified at this point. After yesterday, I had toilet trauma. I knew there was still a portion or two inside me and it wasn't gonna be good. It went just how you expect. It was another foul-smelling liquid poo that each strain felt like a knife in my butt. I held on to the towel rail and forced as much out as I could each push. I figured if I could get it all done quickly, it wouldn't be so bad. It kind of worked, but I think the damage was done at this point, so I painfully cleaned myself and waddled to my desk and worked, standing up for the rest of the day. Thursday. Lunchtime. The constant pain subsided, but I still had bad gas and every fart was agony. The smell was just as bad though. Something was still rotting inside me. At least I could sit down to work now. I wasn't hungry and decided to fast for the day. I didn't dare put more food in me. Thursday evening, as I type this, I'm laying in bed on my side. I can feel the last of the lasagna on its way, and I'm dreading going through this, even if it's one last time. My butt still burns when I fart, and this is happening often. It's freezing cold, but I need the window open to let the smell of my approaching poo out. There's a lesson to be learned here. Don't, under any circumstance, eat nothing but lasagna and garlic bread for every meal for 2 days. Nothing good can come from it. Edit. Clearly my mess up was leaving it out for 2 days. I appreciate all the concern. As for the applesauce, it wasn't a thick layer. I just spread some out on a layer of pasta. When it cooks, the moisture in it evaporates and just left with the sugar, really. I like sweet and savory. At least it united a portion of Reddit and food safety rules and a universal disgust for applesauce and lasagna. Thanks for the helpful advice and making me laugh a lot. Edit 2, thank you for the awards. I appreciate the downvotes as well. Good to let others know it's never a good idea to leave a family-sized lasagna out on the side for 2 days. Sorry for the spelling and grammar issues. I could go back and correct them, but I feel it would be disingenuous. There was a lot of errors in the story writing itself. Again, these are stories that I don't need to have advice for. It's more of just what was that? What did I just read? See, this is how you know that I just find stories that are upvoted, they fit criteria, they look like they might be good or funny or whatever, because I had no idea what was about to happen in that story. Clearly, he was reading comments, and that's where the edits came from. So apparently, not only was he eating lasagna for every meal, he wasn't refrigerating it. He left it on the counter to spoil and continued eating it. That's what his problem was. He put a lot of things in it that can spoil over a day or two of not being refrigerated or anything like that, not being microwaved. It sounds like he was just cutting it out, throwing it on a plate, and eating it, not heating it up or anything. So yeah, that was the big mess up. It wasn't the fact that he ate lasagna for every meal. It was the fact that he didn't do anything to basically sanitize it, I guess is the way to do it. Even if he would have just nuked it in the microwave before eating it, that would have at least killed some of the bacteria and stuff that was growing in it. But it sounds like he just left it there and was eating it not right out of the pan. He was putting it on a plate and then eating it right out of the pan. So that was his big mistake. Don't do that, kids. It's a bad idea. But anyways, that's the end of story number 2. Story number 3. Today I messed up by cleaning my windowsill braless. For context, I'm Irish, and we've recently had a big historic storm. There wasn't too much damage done to my home, mainly the garden and a few roof tiles off, but on the grand scale, not bad. However, I did leave a kitchen window open on a latch. The window didn't break, but it did leave a mess inside my kitchen around my window inside. Inside the sink and the blind. My ma and Da's house had the power cut. So obviously, I'd invited them to stay. They said they'd be at my house in around 2 hours. My mom, God bless her wee soul, is a bit of a clean freak. So naturally, my ADHD self shot straight into hyperfocus. The ADHDers will understand this. Because of the storm, the content of the wood chip and mud from the garden were inside my kitchen by the windowsill, all over my blinds and sink. So I chose to get right into washing inside the kitchen cupboards and the ice cube trays inside the freezer in true ADHD style. Scrubbing the floor, Armageddon style, where bacteria wouldn't survive. The anxiety really started to kick in, so I took some oil that I'm prescribed. 2 milliliters, 30 milligram THC. Usually it takes an hour or so to kick in, but I'd forgotten to eat, but nah, fake it. So anyway, I take a break and doom scroll and notice the time. Jesus, Mary, and the wee donkey, half an hour before my parents get here. Better finish cleaning. So I get to the windowsill, so muddy, and some plants that sat on the ledge had been blown over. These plants were all cactus, particularly a bunny ear cactus plant that I'm particularly fond of. So I moved them off the windowsill on the draining part of the sink and sorted the soil, just as the oil started to hit me. Now this is key. I was in old clothes, hair up, braless. The ladies will know this is classic deep clean attire. I start wiping the ledge, high as a fucking kite. Now this might sound like a humble brag. I start wiping the ledge, high as a effing kite. Now this might sound like a humble brag, but I'm rather well endowed on the knockers front. God, these stories are great. The chariots were swinging slow, and my sweet bunny ear cactus was being smothered, particularly by my right one as I was leaning over them to clean the windowsill. The pain didn't even kick in right away. I'd cleaned the windowsill, blind, and even sprayed air freshener. It wasn't until I went to get changed and took my t-shirt off that I felt the burn of 1,000 effing suns. When I took my top off, I'm not joking when I say it looked like the cast of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids had went to war with my boob using tiny spears. It looked like tiny blonde hairs covered my right one. It looked like my right one was going through menopause. It was hot, red, and had tiny hairs all over it. The pain really started to kick in. I turned my bathroom upside down looking for tweezers. I found them just as I heard someone walk in my door. My parents had arrived. My face was purple, tears in my eyes. My mom knew something was wrong. My dad was clueless. His first words upon seeing me and the damage from the storm was, had more wind up my charming. I had to fess up to my mom. I told her, I've hurt my boob. There's cactus pricks all over my boob. She laughed and said, excuse me. So I showed her. The gasp of horror on her face. I swear you'd have thought I'd spat on my granny's grave. She starts inspecting, pulls her phone out to use the torch light. Obviously, she's old, so it takes her 2 business days to turn on the thing. Of her 2014 Samsung Galaxy. I stand at the top of my stairs with one out. She looks and tells me she has a solution, a microfiber cloth, something she's seen on TikTok. Suddenly, I got a case of the giggles, in pain, but effing peeing myself at this idea. She gets the cloth, proceeds to rub it over my boob to grab the small pricks out. It worked. Excruciating, but it worked. But my ma, it doesn't stop there. We need to now cool your boob down because it looks raging red. You'd think some ice, frozen peas, or even some cooled cabbage leaves. No, not my ma. Holy water. God bless your boob. I'll give her her due. She also recommended cabbage later on. The whole time my father sat on my sofa watching the news. He walked into my kitchen and shouts upstairs, What the F have you done? Me, just as the THC reaches its peak, runs downstairs with my ma. We go into the kitchen where my dad is. He's holding onto my very expensive Roman blind with white spots all over it. I'd cleaned it with bleach while I was obviously melted on the THC. While I stood there, still braless, with my t-shirt up, holding my right boob exposed. Anyway, we had a steak pie and potatoes for dinner. It was grand. My father looked at the steak pie in the eye more than I. That was great. That's just a funny story. I enjoy that. That was hilarious. I can like envision it all in my mind and everything too. That's the funny part. So she ruined her blinds. She scraped up her right side, if you know what I mean. Her mom had to help her out, and she accidentally showed it off to her dad in the process. Yeah, no, that's just a good. I have no words. That's just a good story. Story number 4. Today I messed up by forgetting that Reddit is only as anonymous as you make it, and blowing up my relationship with my family over it. Obligatory, this isn't technically today. Really, this is more like I've been kind of dumb for like 10 years, but hey, buckle in. It's a long one. My childhood was exceptionally isolated. When I was about 5 years old, we moved to the top of a mountain in the middle of the desert, ostensibly because my parents wanted their eventual 11 children to go up free and wild, but also because extremely traditional Catholicism tends to stick for children when those children have absolutely no contact with reality. We would descend the mountain for church on Sundays, and then once a month we would join our Catholic homeschoolers for a morning at a local park. And some years we did 4-H. But that was about the extent of my socialization. I was unhappy, but I was never quite sure why. And my parents were always very quick to explain that my unhappiness was a result of the devil or a spiritual attack. Enter the internet, the glorious, populated, community-filled internet. As an older teen, I began doing some classes online, and I got an ancient brick of a laptop to help with that. And naturally, I eventually found Reddit. Finally, I had found a place where I could have community with other people, and nobody would ever have to know I was an awkward homeschooler with a terribly long skirt and an awful haircut. I started in the Catholicism subreddit and tended to keep it open in one page in case my parents walked in, but then in another page I could explore. And oh, the freedom of exploration. I learned history and science. I joined fandoms and discovered podcasters. I learned interesting terms like bisexual and even saw pornography for the first time. And I talked to other people who weren't homeschooled or sheltered or even Catholic. Not going to lie, I said some bullshit. For the first solid 6 years that I was here, I was drinking that Catholic Kool-Aid hard. If you look far enough back in my history, you'll find a homophobic, transphobic, religious bigot. Honestly, hella cringe. I also had a habit of occasionally complaining about the things my family did, especially as I began to realize just how desperately abnormal and unhealthy my childhood was. Word to the wise, kids, don't post your family drama on your main. It will eventually come back to bite you in the A. Eventually, with time and love and joining the real world, I grew out of the cringe. I left the Catholic Church once I finally realized the depths of its misogyny, racism, and corruption. I realized that the fun word bisexual described me and started meeting with other queer people and found out that they were not depraved predators, but honestly, the warmest and most loving bunch of people I'd met. I learned the real truth behind all the pro-life things I had been taught. I read books about abortion and trans rights. I connected with people in my town and then started doing IRL things once COVID ended. And now I volunteer at my library every week. I realize that I'm not broken and disgusting, waiting to be saved by an angry God. I made real friends and really learned to love myself for the first time. But you've been waiting for the mess up. I made the catastrophic mistake of posting a picture of my sister's wedding on Reddit. You'd think that was nothing. I thought that was nothing. But my sister's ex, who had been involved in a decade-long custody battle with her, did not think it was nothing. In fact, he somehow managed to find the post, and then from there, find my Reddit account. And Boom! 10 years of content. Homeboy must have read through thousands of posts and comments, and he found the ones where I complain about my childhood. Commiserate with people about how my family is still conservative when I've gone to the liberal dark side. Weird poems about fights with my sister that I wrote at 18. He went through posts about my struggles with fertility and struggles with religion, and he entered screenshots of them into evidence as proof that my family was not fit to be around the kid. By the time I had been told what had happened, told to delete posts, it was too late. My dad had the screenshots, and then he went and found more. My whole family saw them. My grandparents called and texted in horror. My aunt across the country was dragged into it. The next thing I knew, I had text after text from my sister telling me that I needed to make a statement that I was a psychotic lunatic, lying about all of it. My mother apparently wrote a statement for me that said as much. According to another sibling that saw it before she tried to make me sign it, my sister claimed that wouldn't get custody of her kid back if I didn't either claim psychosis or sign a statement to that effect. Because that's perjury, though, I did not. Because, see, I'm not a lunatic. I'm a dumbass who overshares on Reddit, who isn't, and I've been diagnosed with depression, who hasn't, but psychotic? No. I wrote my own statement basically laying out all of what I just said. I was a sheltered kid who used the internet badly, and some of what I had said online has been said without the full knowledge of the respective situations. But my mistakes were my own, and because my sister had been adamant that I needed to call myself psychotic, and my mother had already written something for me, I thought it best to send to my sister's lawyer directly, so that nothing could be added or amended without my knowledge. That was, apparently, a big mistake. I woke up to an email from my sister about how she can't believe I would imply I don't trust her. Would you? And how I'm going to die alone without any friends or family. She's going to paint me in court as psycho anyway because only a crazy person would, checks notes, talk to a lawyer in a legal situation instead of the person who already seems to have made plans to have you perjure yourself. My whole family basically hates me, and that's the end of that. All in all, you might agree, no great loss. It's not. No friends, the loss is this Reddit account. 10 years of karma, 10 years of relationships and carefully curated content. I shall have to start again with a new account. Hopefully much more anonymous this time around. I'm torn between never touching this account again and using it as my new account exclusively for writing erotica content, since now I know my father will be looking on at all my posts in disapproval anyway. Might as well lean into it. I'd say I'll catch you all on the flip side, but I really hope I'm not caught anywhere. I am so ready to go back being just another anonymous face in the Reddit crowd, and this time I plan to stay that way. Get him. Get him. Don't change. Do not change your Reddit account. Keep doing the things that you've been doing, the way you've been doing them. Don't let them change you. Don't let them make you run away. If they know what you're writing, oh well. You know what that tells them? They were wrong. They messed up. If you are happier now, experiencing your life the way that you want to, diving into the things that make you happy, and your family can't be happy about it, that's on them. And honestly, it sounds like your family wanted to be in a cult or wanted to be a cult. It sounds like your family wanted to be a cult. All right. So, this story was awesome. Also, I love it. The writing, impeccable. She's got a talent for laying things out in a very humorous and very straightforward way. It was very good. The wording is really nice. I really enjoy it. It is that classic story of alt-right Christian values, Catholic values, whatever it is, clearly being to the extreme and being wrong in a lot of ways. It's a story as old as time at this point that we find out that someone breaks away from like a Catholic family, and they're like, yeah, they were a bunch of bigoted, racist, sexist, homophobic pieces of garbage. So classic story. But anyways, let's move on to story number 5. And this one, I really love the opening title for it. It's really good. Today, I messed up by trying to bang a goth baddie, and my wife found out. My 31 male, wife, 32 female, and I are in a healthy and happy relationship. That said, we've been together since high school, so we both feel that we missed out a little by being each other's only sexual experience. We've talked about this at length and decided a few years ago that we're okay with having a few hall passes in our relationship. Since we very much intend to stay together the rest of our lives and don't want any resentment over missed possibilities. Plus, it's pretty rare that we could even find such an opportunity, as it's a little hard to find hookups when you're in a committed marriage and don't go out much. We even gave each other advance approval in case a situation arises. As so long as we're safe about it and tell each other immediately afterwards, we've both used one hall pass, each with someone we knew well enough but would never see again. And no issues came out of it. In fact, it's only made us more secure in our relationship and how much we genuinely appreciate being with each other. Recently, I had to travel to London for work. I don't normally get to travel for work, so I decided to make a trip out of it and spend a few extra days on my own time in the city after the project was done. My wife couldn't join because she didn't have any vacation time left, but was very supportive of me taking some time to explore since I've never been to London, and she has. Being cheap and being a pretty outgoing guy when I'm so inclined, I decided to stay in a hostel. I was interested in meeting other travelers since I didn't know anyone in the city and love being sociable with new people. I chatted with several of the people staying there, and in particular a very attractive French girl, mid-20s, who dressed super goth. For context, I love the goth girl look. I've been sucked into the goth girlfriend propaganda online, much to the annoyance of my wife. If it isn't her style, but she has been nice enough to cater to me by putting on a sexy goth outfit on occasion. Since she knows it's a huge fantasy of mine, still I pester her constantly to be more goth because I enjoy it so much. Anyway, I ended up spending a little bit of time with goth French baddie. We both went to the hostel's happy hour event and hit it off there. I found out that she was recently single and was in London for an art show. It turned out we were both into emo music. Shocker. And we talked about our favorite bands. I had the thought that she was acting a bit flirty towards me, but didn't think too much of it until I later found myself sharing a sink with her in the hostel bathroom. The hostel was co-ed, so each floor had a small shared bathroom with a communal sink, and a door that was meant to be kept open, but which people frequently closed for the sake of having more privacy than just a stall to shower in. So I'm brushing my teeth while chatting up the real-life version of Shadowheart, who, mind you, is wearing an extremely low-cut top, when she suddenly closes the bathroom door behind us. In my mind, my wildest fantasy is about to come true. It's even more exciting because of the adrenaline rush of being in a semi-public setting, and a girl being so into me that she would make such a bold move. I can't believe this is actually happening to me. I instantly get hard. Then she turns around and asks, "Are you interested in learning about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?" Hold on. Okay, I gotta take that back for the shorts purposes, so hold on. Then she turns around and asks, "Are you interested in learning about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?" She had me cornered for 10 minutes trying to talk me into salvation, while I grew increasingly despondent and immensely disappointed with the whiplash of going from what could have been one of the crowning moments of my life to pure and utter dejection. When I told my wife this story, she laughed for a solid hour. She said it's karma for annoying her about wanting a goth girlfriend. Oh, that is amazing. That's gold. That is pure gold right there. That was such a 180. Cause yeah, I could have seen that being the result. Not really. I am not one of those people that believe that things that you see in movies, TV shows, or those other kind of videos you can see online would actually ever happen in real life. I am a realist. But holy cow, that is amazing, because I would not expect that being the issue either. I would expect something in between. of like her like asking to borrow money or something because she's short on cash and she can see that he's kind of got a thing for her. I was not expecting low cut goth baddie to be either devout Christian or recently saved or whatever it was. But that is amazing. That is awesome. Serves him right in some aspects. But also, your wife is baller, dude. Your wife is a keeper. And obviously, you think that too. For literally just laughing in your face about it instead of being like, excuse me. No. You guys seem to have a really happy marriage. I'm really happy for you guys on that one. The stories were amazing today. Really funny, really great. It is hot in my studio right now, so I am perspirating in a aggressive manner. I hope it's not showing up on camera too well. But other than that, guys, that is the end of our stories for the day. Our 5 stories from today I messed up. Some long ones, a couple of short ones. All of them were actually pretty funny. All of them, except for, I guess the first story wasn't that funny. Jay, cool your jets. You don't need to be tipped for just working cash register, unfortunately. But all the other stories were pretty funny, pretty good. They all were interesting to say the least. And yeah, guy number 5, yeah, good luck, man. I hope you do find your one-time goth baddie just to make up for the situation that just happened to you. But anyways, guys, if you like the stories, if you like the video, if you like me giving you whatever response I'm going to have at the end of stories, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. It should be lighting up whenever I say subscribe. I don't know if it does or not. I'm not actually well versed on how that works, if I have it or if it's just people who are more popular than me that have it. But anyways, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share it, all that good stuff. I'm trying to think of what would be member rewards since we have memberships, but I don't use them for anything at the moment. So give me some of those ideas in the comments too. Tell me other subreddits that you guys want me to get stories from, stuff like that. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and all that good stuff. And I will catch you guys in the next Reddit stories. Goodbye.